lights. This is not just a game. This here is my life. Put the cameras on me.
Hello, everybody. Live from a beautiful 64-degree day by the beach in California. It is the OZone. I'm your host, Omar Miller. I'm here with my brother, Terry Miller, also known as the Icons. How you feeling after the hiatus? Are you mid-hiatus?
No, I'm hiatus out. I'm
really? You ready to get back in?
Ready to jump right back in. Jackknife.
I'm not ready to belly flop in it just yet. I'm still taking it easy, folks. It's that weird period between Christmas and New Year's where time doesn't really exist. You can't figure out what day it is. Traffic is a little suspect. Life in general is easy. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, and that's why we wanted to come to you. We got quite a few things to cover. We want to wrap up the year in boxing. We got a couple goodbyes to say. We want to speak about the state of the union in football right now. But we're going to start off with a little hot stove because it's finally heating up. So Major League Baseball is popping. It's actually been somewhat of a cool stove. The winter meetings haven't yielded a lot of fruit just yet. None of the big names have transferred and made moves, but it looks like the Mets are actually the surprise front runners so far on making moves. What do you think?
They've made a couple of small moves, not grand, humongous moves. Robinson Cano is not like, he's not in his prime anymore, so it's not anything like that. So with the Mets, they're actually making their team better, but the big guys haven't dropped yet, so it's hard to gauge anything right now. The hot stove is definitely not hot.
And it seems like it all hinges upon everybody trying to decide whether they're going to fool with Bryce Harper or Manny Machado or not.
Right. And I think that the Phillies still are the front runners, although the Yankees seem like they're primed to jump in there. And I know.
But it seems like they're trying to stuff the market down or something because everybody wants to play coy right now.
Right. They want to tease you.
Yeah, they just want to tease, hands on.
But the problem is that I just feel like it's a attempt to lowball Manny Machado definitely. And Manny sort of brought some
it's
of this
almost
on
like I was just about to say, it's almost like the Tyson Fury Wilder thing where Fury gave them a way out to cheat him by getting knocked down twice.
Right. And that's what Manny Machado did by just a couple of statements, because even some of the dirty plays, they can excuse that. But then this statement about not being a hustler.
It doesn't sound right.
They're going to hold that over his head until after they sign the contract.
They're going to hold that over his head when he goes into the Hall of Fame.
No, but they're going to sign him, and they're going to forget about it as soon as they sign his contract and give him that big cheese. They're not going to worry about that.
No,
nah.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then don't sign him.
Well, I mean, right now nobody's signing him.
Well, somebody's going to sign him, though.
They said he's met with several teams. He wanted to make his decision in the new year.
I don't blame him. Go ahead and play around.
Yeah, he wanted to be on hiatus for a while. Finger pop, figure out what's what.
Yeah.
They say the dark horse are the White Sox, though.
I wouldn't mind him going to the Sox. They got a couple of kids in the minors that they can bring up. And, and compliment him. And if they can get him and Bryce Harper, because they haven't spent any money in a long time.
And that's a big market.
And they're in the major market, so they can actually make some noise.
I was surprised the Cubs let go of Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, I am too. And then the Rockies swooped him up real quick, and he's supposed to play.
The Rockies lineup is outrageous.
Yeah, and he's supposed to play first base for the Rockies. So then they can bring up a stud that they have also, Brendan Rodgers, that's in the minor leagues, if they don't sign DJ LeMahieu.
Why wouldn't they sign DJ LeMahieu? All he does is hit.
Yeah,
even
because
he gets hurt.
Because they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay him, and they can afford to bring up this kid that's supposed to be another. Their team that actually grooms infielders that can swing the stick.
Yeah,
and they're going to bring this kid up, and he's supposed to be one of those kids.
Speaking of which, ex-Colorado Rockies stud Troy Tulowitzki, they say he's working out for teams now.
Isn't it crazy to listen to that Troy Tulowitzki has to work out for teams to convince them to let him play?
And I mean, this isn't a long time ago that Troy Tulowitzki was considered to be the best shortstop in baseball.
Yeah, he was literally the Trevor Story of,
No, better, because he didn't strike out a ton of times. Troy Tulowitzki at the time was considered to be one of the best players in baseball, like one of the top 5 players in baseball. And then remember, it was a super crazy blockbuster when he went to Toronto, and that seemed like the worst thing that's ever happened to his life.
Well, I don't even think that at that time when he went to Toronto it was a big blockbuster because he had fallen off. Remember, he had a knee problem?
Yeah, he had gotten hurt, but the idea was he was going to come back and be himself.
I felt like it was a bad move by Toronto because you're talking about taking him and putting him on AstroTurf to play, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well,
with a bad knee.
What they were doing is at that time, if you remember, they signed him, Donaldson, somebody else.
They're trying to get that monster infield.
Yeah, they had signed several people, and they still had Joey Bats, and then they got Encarnacion. It was they had a formidable lineup, but it wasn't It wasn't meant to be. And right now, speaking of Toronto, I like the idea that San Diego is trying to grab Marcus Stroman
and Corey Kluber.
Yeah. San Diego could be popping real quick if they were able to execute. I can't imagine it's difficult to sell people on living in the city of San Diego. It may be difficult to convince people that they're serious about winning, but if they can make simultaneous moves, they can convince people really quickly.
They just need some offense. I mean, this
got to have some offense.
This is their number one shtick. They love getting pitching, but they're just like the opposite of the Angels, who go get a ton of outfielders. They go get a ton of pitchers and no sticks.
Yeah. Well, they got Hosmer, they got Will Myers. They got the young budding stud Hunter Renfroe, who likes to strike out too much.
Yeah.
But if you add a couple pieces there, you can make some noise.
They actually have a big time prospect too that they'd want to bring up. That's that shortstop Fernando Tatis's son.
Oh, really?
Shortstop,
Tell the people what's wrong with your nose.
Oh, skunk juice.
She only want me for my skunk juice.
The skunk has cut loose and got into the sinus area.
Wow.
Yeah, brought me down.
Wow.
Brought me down, bro.
So does he just spray all over the house, or is it an extermination? Is he trying to get you guys to move out?
I think so, because he sprays in the vicinity, and it's often. I think it's close to like at least 2 times a night, and now is to the point where somebody help me out.
Now you got skunked.
Help me.
Help me if you can. I'm feeling skunked. Wow. Yeah. It's a bad look, huh? So what do you tell me your take on this Dodgers move? I mean,
what Dodgers move?
Exactly. The unload of arguably their 2 best players that are offensive, that are everyday players.
From what I gather, they're supposed to be clearing space so that they can land one of the big time guys like Machado.
And I think that honestly, and this is as a Dodger fan, but being at the World Series, I feel like the Manny Machado ship sailed.
Yeah.
Because the fans don't want him back.
No, I don't think that the fans really. I don't know.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, I don't ever think that they ever, brought him in like that. Come on, bring him in, give him a big hug. They never really, accepted him like that. They wanted it, but
they accepted it, but they didn't,
They want Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is almost like a local kid.
Yes.
He's a Vegas kid, and they would love to have Bryce.
A lot of ties here.
Yeah, but they have Alex Verdugo in the minor leagues, another lefty. Then you got Bryce Harper, a lefty, and then you have Muncy and Cody Bellinger. You got a lefty heavy lineup. I mean, bring in a dominant lefty, and they're shut out.
Andrew Tolles.
Yeah,
I think that if they
and Corey Seager.
Here's what I feel like.
What do you feel like?
I feel like Yasiel Puig came into his own last year. That forever and ever we've been talking about how Puig was the underachiever. He seemed like he was more style than substance. But last year, Yasiel Puig told the fans when the Dodgers were in a slump that we'll see you guys in the World Series. And he did his part to get them to the World Series. And I have to say he did his part to win the World Series. Yasiel Puig was the only guy that played consistently that had an approach. He was willing to go up the middle. He's willing to go the other way. He set pitchers up, hit a big bomb that low key should have changed the total tide and momentum of the World Series. And when they gave up the bomb right afterwards, when Madsen gave up the bomb to Mitch Moreland right afterwards, Puig looked like he got hit by the skunk. He looked like you in the outfield.
Don't hit him like that.
That's what he looked like. He looked very, very disappointed. And so when you're looking at the situation, you got young Puig out there. He's an example of the new school. He's full of flair. He fit in perfectly with Los Angeles. He really picked up the city, and he picked up the vibe of the city. Only reason I'm happy to see Puig go is hopefully his house stops getting broken into. This is the only reason. Maybe. They must have broken into Puig's house 10 times.
I mean, I don't know if Cincinnati's that much better. They might just catch the people who are doing it this time.
Maybe, but I don't. So this is how
Puig,
I feel.
I mean, Puig, still to me, as a right fielder nowadays, his numbers aren't up to code as far as being a dominant right fielder.
He didn't play every day.
He played 146 games. That's almost every game.
He appeared in 146 games. That's not saying he played. How many ABs he get?
He had 530 ABs.
It's a lot of ABs.
That's a lot of ABs.
He played every day.
He gave me grade 80 numbers.
Lay his 80s numbers up, baby.
He gave me 26 bombs, 73 ribeyes, 109 strikeouts, 16 stolen bags, and a 289 average.
I mean, I can't be mad at Puig.
That's Kirk Gibson. That's back in 88. But that's not enough nowadays. These dudes are putting up monsters. You look at Bryce Harper numbers, and that's a monster right field number.
Yeah, but Bryce Harper is going to get paid $40 to $50 million a year. You're paying Yasiel Puig $7 million a year.
Yeah, but then that tells me that I could afford to bring up another kid out of the minor leagues that's probably going to give me pretty much close to what Yasiel's giving you.
We're going to see, but that's not supposed to be what the move is about. You see, that's the problem with that format.
It's not about that.
It's not about that because they're not getting Puig out of there to save money for a younger kid. They're getting Puig out of there
and
to create space.
And Kim,
now, I happen to run into
Alex
Matt.
Wood.
I ran into Matt in Miami a couple weeks back, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, now, what's the reason that they stopped playing you some sort of a contract incentive laden thing?" And he said, "No, it wasn't." I said, "Really?" I said, "So what happened?" He said, "Man, I don't know." He said, "I went into a slump after the All-Star break. I went something like 2 for 23 or 2 for 27,
and he never saw the light of day."
He said, and then the coach came in and said, "Hey, we're gonna start platooning you," and I was like, What am I going to say? And I told him, I said, that's unbelievable because at the time, Matt had to be hitting well into the threes. Wasn't he? He was an all-star. I think he's still going to win comeback player of the year.
And not only that, slumps are a part of baseball.
This is what I'm saying. That's what I told Matt. I said, come on, man, this is baseball. Nobody's hitting 400.
Nobody hits 400. Nobody barely hits 300.
You barely got two dudes touch 350 every decade.
Come on, man. So now if you go into a slump, you get the raw deal.
And we also saw a member of a team that beat the Dodgers in the World Series who shall remain nameless. And they gave their take because they actually would like to play in LA under the condition that they actually get to play, because they said in watching the Dodgers, whether they were watching their World Series or the other World Series that the Dodgers lost, they said it's really going to be difficult for this team to beat us resting their 4 best players every single day.
Yeah.
And no matter which 4 you feel like that they are, because there's 4 dudes that should be starters that are not starting.
Because of the analytics.
Just because of these analytics. And honest to God, I really wish they would have got rid of Cody Bellinger instead of Puig. Or
Matt Kemp. Or Alex Woods. I don't know why they're sour on Alex Woods.
But because they conditioned Alex Wood was like a battered wife. They conditioned Alex Wood to be accepting of his non-good situation. Mm-hmm. You know, like they brought Alex Wood in relief when he's a starter his whole life.
And the situations to fail.
He got dug out. Several times, Alex Wood came in the postseason and gave up a bomb, and then they take him right out. They don't even let him get any outs after that. Yeah. I would love to know Alex Wood's postseason ERA this year, because it had to be screaming.
Yeah, he got dug out.
He got dug several times.
Why'd you do that to him?
I didn't do it. I didn't get one knock off Alex Wood, and I also didn't take him out the game. You know, and then there's the other side of it. They got these guys out of there. They're going to release Homer Bailey if they already haven't.
They already have.
They already have. And then they're saying that
still just a salary dump.
It's a salary dump, so they have to make a move. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
You get Corey Seager back, which I think that accompanied with the results from last year means you're not going to really go for Manny Machado. Bryce Harper is the prototype that they're looking for here. I wonder if they'll platoon Bryce.
Who knows? What does the analytics say?
Yeah, exactly. And then they got to get another stud pitcher. Now, if the Dodgers can find a way to get Trevor Bauer or Corey Kluber, and you're talking about Ace, Kluber, Buehler, and Hyun-Jin, you're going to have a hard time beating them in the series.
Well, it's all up to Clayton Kershaw. We'll see in spring training what his velo is looking like, his velocity, because if his velocity is not back up to code, then he's just going to be an average, a little slightly above average pitcher.
Right. I believe that Clayton Kershaw is in the process of currently doing, I just looked in the backyard. He was out there working on his back.
Warming up.
He wasn't getting loose. He was just doing some push-ups, tightening up his core.
Okay.
And so, but I really believe that Clayton Kershaw is going to do, if it's possible, Clayton Kershaw's doing whatever
Clayton
he can.
Kershaw?
No, it's Clayton. He's actually he's going to
Jackie Clayton.
He's going to take over for to the moon, Dallas. He's going to take over for Clayton Kershaw this year. He's got a better back. But yeah, the salary dump is what they're going for. I think we're waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to.
They're playing games in baseball. That's just the bottom line. They're not making enough moves. Yeah, I am, because they won't pull the trigger on. Once one of these big guys fall, the domino falls, then it's going to be a domino effect.
Got to rush. Everybody's going to have to rush.
Yeah, but right now it feels like the owners are colluding to, against players to try to control or manipulate the market. That's the feeling that I get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in just recently, what is that? Probably in the last 5 years, have we seen this whole method of holding out signing the big time players
into spring training?
Yeah, into spring training, just trying to lowball the market,
which has to have something to do with the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude.
Because prior to that, they weren't able to do it.
Right, they couldn't do it. And hats off to Tony because they just re-opt him.
Yeah. Congrats to Tony. Tony Clark got a re-up on his deal, and I think he has a vision for the players. I just hope it comes to fruition. Mm-hmm. And you have one thing I want to cover. Well, I mean, you want to cover your boy Charlie Morton. Charlie got him a deal. Charlie
got him one. It's just that
with a nice pitching coach.
Yeah, but he's just in one of the toughest divisions.
He's in the toughest division in baseball. But those kids made a lot of noise. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Honestly, they don't have much offense, and if they can tighten up their defense, and then
you can always tighten up your defense. That's just it's almost like a mental block. Like,
but what I'm saying is that, and
they need a big stick.
They need one big stick. They need a big stick, and I think they should actually open up the pocketbooks and do it completely. Just go all in. They should lure a Bryce Harper or a Manny Machado.
They should have tried to work on the Goldsmith.
Wow. How about the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yeah.
Once again, the St. Louis Cardinals are going to be right back in the mix.
Right in the thick of things.
They are.
If they're not going all the way because they have
they got it all now.
They have pitching up the yin-yang.
And they can shut the game down.
Yeah. So they're not going to have a problem being in games offensively. They play last year.
I think you vastly, the casual fan, unless you live in Arizona or unless you're a National League West person, vastly underestimates Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah. But the pitching that the Cardinals have, one of the problems with the Cardinals is that they had one of the worst defenses that they've ever had last year.
Which is not their style.
Yeah, which is not their style.
And it seemed like Matheny just lost the team.
Yeah.
He lost the clubhouse.
And
then afterwards, they got it back together.
If they get their defense together, man, they are a serious, serious problem. I would, if their defense, if they make another move too, you could almost pick them to come out of the National League.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I'm high on the Braves.
I'm high on the Braves, but I don't think they're as good as the Cardinals.
No.
Not at this point, but like we said, we have other shoes to drop. Winfield.
Size 14.
This is a Hall of Fame shoe. Got a great story for you guys. I played in a celebrity softball game before the All-Star game a couple of years ago. You guys may remember it. And the kid, Cameron Boyce, the Disney star, tried to tag up and ran into me at home and got housed. And after the game, I had a couple good plays in the field. And after the game, Mr. Dave Winfield came up to me and said, "Omar, I like your game out there. I like how you carry yourself. You going to be around this weekend?" I said, "Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Winfield?" I love Dave Winfield. Like, I had all his cards, everything. "I have something for you." Dave Winfield, like a G, goes to his sock on the pitching mound at Petco Field and slides me a personal VIP invite to a party.
Now what, homeboy?
I said, "Wow, thanks, Mr. Winfield." I said, "Man, you got another one? My brother's coming." "Your brother? Or your brother?" I said, "My brother." All right. Went back to the sock, and you're listening to two guys who got to go to the party
and hang out with Dave Winfield.
Come on, Winfield. Andrew Miller.
Yeah.
The Giant, Deline Betances.
Yeah.
All kind of guys.
Ricky Henderson. It was nice.
Oh, man.
Vince Coleman.
Wow. Almost all the Cardinals were there. Ozzie.
Yeah. Ozzie's the homie.
Ozzie's the homie. Shout out to the GOAT, Ozzie Smith. It's so hard for anybody to be the greatest at something,
right?
Hands down. He is the greatest shortstop, hands down. There's nobody that has ever known anything about baseball that will tell you anything different.
Yes. It's very, very hard to say that somebody's better than Ozzie Smith.
It is. Last thing I want to say is, they had that heart scare for Ace. CC Sabathia rode the treadmill the other day while he was working out, started sweating too quickly, said he didn't feel like something was right, but he didn't feel that bad. But he mentioned it to the staff. They checked him out and found out he had an artery block to his heart. And he went and got a stent put in.
They put a stent?
Yeah, they put a stent in. He's supposed to be ready for spring training. This is going into his last year. He's trying to get to the World Series. And, wow. So good, speedy recovery for the big guy. Love CC. And I just wanted to give you a compliment while we're on the hot stove, because if you guys go back to the OZone April edition, March edition, when the Red Sox signed JD Martinez, the Icons said that they were going to be a formidable force, better than the Yankees, and probably the best team in baseball. And that's what came to pass.
Yeah, we had a couple of people come on that wanted to get aggressive with me about that.
Was some serious aggression?
Yeah, I mean he's a game changer.
It's shown.
Yeah, and
You think they're going to re-sign Kimbrel?
I wouldn't. I mean, because he wasn't a shutdown guy. I know that he's out there looking for big money, but
He's looking for that Chapman money.
yeah, but not because he's up in age, because his velocity was still up. But he wasn't shutting it down like you'd like to see a guy who throws 100 miles an hour shut it down.
Never blown a save in October.
Wow, it's hard to not sign him.
It's hard to not sign him. Even though he was a wild boy.
But
from what I understand, he's never blown a save in October.
yeah, but the thing of it is that
His ERA is way up from where it is in the regular season.
right. He just doesn't completely shut it down like you like to see the shutdown closers.
I know exactly what you're saying. You want to see a guy come in there and close the door.
Yeah, and he likes to get the tying run on.
He likes to play.
He likes to play.
And speaking of the surgeries, Kenley Jansen got his surgery,
Yeah.
and hopefully he'll stop playing.
He plays a little too much.
He played way too much for Dodger fans this year. Those tickets where we sit are expensive, and I don't go up there to get my heart broke. I might as well do that with the babes at the house. I don't need somebody to give me a heart attack by getting the tying run on and giving up a bomb
That's
when
what
he's in the
Kenley does.
8th inning and he shouldn't be in the game. Sorry. Well, we got big college football action coming our way, and we have our college football analyst ready to go. Next victim, live on the OZone. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Ho, 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 my brother.
Happy holidays.
I'm sorry. This is Do It for the Tipper. It's not even Next Victim anymore. He's trying to promote a positive lifestyle.
Absolutely.
I can dig that.
Right on, brother. You have a good time around the holidays this year? How you feeling? Did you get a couple days off? Did you get any rest?
Man, number 45 gave a couple of days off, so I'm okay. I'm doing good, well rested, ready to get ready for these bowl games.
Big bowl games coming up. Hopefully you're not involved in the government shutdown and you actually got your Christmas cash. What do you think is happening this weekend? We're going into the New Year's and we're coming in hot.
We're coming in super hot. Even though it's a blizzard going on everywhere, we coming in hot on the ozone.
Oh, yeah.
It's going down once again with all the bowls. We got the chili bowl, we got the gas bowl, we got the the Terranium bowl, we got everything. You about to get served up with the bowl time during the holidays.
Let's do it. I'm trying to get with the hummus bowl so then I can have a gas bowl. And hopefully I can get a protein bowl.
Talita acai bowl.
And then I'm going to take you over to cow bowl, homeboy.
Here you go, being nasty again.
Yeah, talk to me. So what do you think, man? What are the games you like this weekend?
So, quick rundown. We got some games that started. A bunch of bowl games already started, but those are all irrelevant. We're not going to waste no time on them. Tomorrow is when it all starts. So, we got Purdue versus Auburn. I'm going with Purdue. That's the Music City Bowl. We got the
Boilermakers.
the World Bowl, which has West Virginia versus Syracuse. I am going with West Virginia. We got the Valero Alamo Bowl, which is Iowa State versus Washington State. Now, I got to ask the Ozone, I got to ask Big Ezo, because, you know, I've been going with Washington State.
You love Washington State.
I love them Cougars. So, I still want to go with Washington State over Iowa State, but Iowa State has always been tough, a tough team, D1 to play with, whether it's basketball, college football. Them Cyclones are just real tough to play. But I've been rolling with Washington State all season. I got to go with them Washington State Cougars one last time.
Well, there it is. At least you're loyal.
You got to stay loyal. With Saturday bowl games, that's when it starts getting cracking. So we got number 10 Florida versus number 7 Michigan. I'm going with number 10 Florida. Don't believe in the Michigan Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh.
Well, that's a surprise for coming from you.
Yeah. So then we have number 2, them Clemson Dabo Swinney Tigers. Now we into the playoff games, going against number 3 Notre Dame. I'm going with number 2 Clemson Dabo Swinney Tigers. Go Tigers, even though there was 3 players that was suspended for Clemson due to some stuff. There was some what is it?
Did they start getting involved in the hemp business before it was legalized by Mitch McConnell?
It was not the hemp business. It was just like a type of steroid. But one of the kids said, I don't need this type of stuff in my body to win anything. He said, I will not cheat my teammates. I won't cheat anybody. So I don't need it. So they're going and doing some more testing, some lab results to make sure that it wasn't done with intent. So to go on, I got number 1, Bama, versus number 4, them young Oklahoma Sooners. And I'm going with the young Oklahoma Sooners because they have the Heisman Trophy winner, and I think Alabama's going to put their quarterback in. Tua, last name I can't say.
Wow.
I still think that leg and that knee and that ankle, I think it's still bothering him. He mentioned that he was going to be at least 80%. Hey, but if you're an athlete, 80%, we know that we probably a real 70% if we saying that we at 80. So
might even be lower than that.
Years and years, we know how to play with the pain and everything, but this kid really depends on his legs because he can throw the ball, but if he can't get out that pocket, it's going to be a problem, major problem. So I'm going with them number 4 Oklahoma Sooners to go over Alabama.
Wow.
Then on Tuesday, we at the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl.
Fiesta.
I have to give it up to R. Kelly.
Never.
Fiesta remix.
We gonna have to bleep his name out of the show.
LSU over number 8 UCF. Then we have number 9 Washington going against number 6 Ohio State. This is the Rose Bowl. This is going to be a damn good game.
I like Washington.
Since you like Washington, I'm going to go with Ohio State. Because I don't like you.
Don't be mad because Washington beat weak Washington State.
Peace this season. So I got to go with I don't like Urban Meyer, but, this might be his last game coaching forever. So I think them kids are going to step up and pull off this upset on the OZone against Washington just because you like to go with Washington. and lastly,
them kids don't know me.
Team Texas, them Longhorns going against number 5 Georgia Bulldogs. Go Georgia. Go Bulldogs. They came up short in the playoff game. I'm sorry, in the championship game against Alabama. But I think these kids right here, once Alabama falls off, I think Georgia will be right there with. I think they're like number 3 in the recruiting class going into 2019. I think Georgia Bulldogs got it over Texas. I don't think Texas is ready for this type of SEC football. And again, overall, to win the college national championship, who do I have? Clemson, Dabo Swinney Tigers. Once again.
Well, there it is. That's a thorough analysis by Do It for the Tipper on the college football State of the Union. Now, real quick, before you go, tell me your favorite boxing match of the year. It's the end of the year OZone.
Oh, so you told me the other day to watch them heavyweights, and I watched them heavyweights thump on the network. I forget the names of the heavyweights, but they were throwing like it was like Rocky 3, like 2.
It was outrageous.
Dillian
White and Derek Chisora. And the only problem I had was they all looked like they were in slow motion. They moved like heavyweights, but they were out there rock'em sock'em.
Yes, they were. They were throwing just tree stumps out at each other.
Man, serious body work. Man.
The best boxing match for me this year, man.
Think about it.
I'm going to have to say Lomachenko. When Lomachenko fought in
Linares? You like Lomachenko Linares?
Yeah. It was because that was the fight when Lomachenko he got knocked down and he got off the canvas.
He got off the mat and ended the fight with a body shot.
Yeah, I like that because it was didn't expect for it to happen. We knew that Linares was good, we hear the hype about Lomachenko, but for him to go into the ring and get knocked down and then come back and put them tips on him was impressive. But in 2018, there was a bunch of really, really good fights. But that one right there is probably the one that comes to mind and stands out the most for me as of right now.
Wow, after all those fights, that's the one? Lomachenko?
Shut up, Icon.
You had Triple G. You had Triple G and Canelo. You had Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder and Lomachenko.
I guess he named 2 fights. He only watched 2 fights.
The pity patters. You want to talk about the pity patters?
But see, the thing is, Icons, is those 2 fights, you expect for those to be good fights. So you're already going in knowing that they're going to be good fights. We didn't expect that the Linares and Lomachenko was going to be that great of a fight.
I did. And I'm actually disappointed that Jorge, he was up on the cards.
He was up.
He was dominating him.
I don't know about that, but he was up on the cards.
He was dominating him to me because he had Lomachenko and he had dropped him. So in that, I mean, I just felt like it was very sloppy for Linares to get taken out, especially as a KG veteran, to be taken out with a body shot like that.
This is what I'm saying. That's why.
Yeah. So I can't, but I know that you're high on Lomachenko like that because you even liked his latest work.
You know what? He asked me what was my fight.
Well, I'm trying to help you out so you know what your fight was.
Okay, so you named 2. So which one? Which one of the 2 was your favorite fight?
Honestly, I don't like either one of those fights because the simple fact that we didn't get a good call on the fight. I felt like Tyson Fury won the fight. I feel like Tyson Fury actually won the fight, and I feel like Triple G beat Canelo.
Man, I kind of still off that eggnog right now.
He on that skunk juice. There's a skunk shooting up the house, apparently. His eyes all messed up and everything.
And I'm pissed.
All right. Do it for the tipper.
All right, go back and watch some fights and then come back.
We appreciate your contributions. We'll see you in the new year where we'll check in and see how you did on the bowl games.
All right, OZone, and I'm out. Happy holidays.
You too.
Peace.
Out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a raggedy OZone.
Why it's got to be raggedy?
Because we give you a speakerphone. I wish the people could see it. I'm holding the phone to the speaker.
It didn't sound bad.
It didn't sound bad, but it did sound great.
Sound like he was on the phone.
He was
in
on
a
the
remote
phone.
location.
He was in the cave.
He was in the cave. He back that mixtape.
Let's move into boxing.
Move into it.
Just watch this past weekend. Some really good fights. Heavyweight fights jumped off. DeLeon White and Derek Chisora. You know, Chisora should probably retire. He won't, but he probably should. DeLeon White is, he took it immediately to go jump on Anthony Joshua, asking him for a fight and blah, blah, blah.
Didn't Joshua already knock him out?
Here's the thing. He doesn't need to. I don't know. I don't know. It's like night and day watching the top 3 guys and everybody else in the heavyweight division.
Like, what are we doing this for?
You're watching Chisora and you're watching Chisora and White. Then we saw the other fight on the Charlos card with Dominique Brazil, and I think it was Negron. And all of these guys, I would say the downside is they move like heavyweights. They're big dudes, so they hit like heavyweights, but they move like heavyweights, and that's not necessarily something great. They move slow. They have long punches. They have big punches, but you can see why Joshua, Fury, and Wilder are in a different class than the rest of these dudes. They're all fleet of foot. They all have a more athletic layout.
Right. And then when you talk about Fury and Joshua, you have guys who are
Boxing
big that can move, that are fundamentally sound.
Which is just a nightmare.
Yeah. And Deontay Wilder is just a great athlete.
He's a monster athlete.
Yeah.
Monster athlete.
And that's why he runs circles around Staverns and stuff like that, because he can do things that they just can't do
physically.
In the ring.
Yeah. He can do things that they just can't do. And this is, Brazil tried to call out Deontay. And I like the way that Deontay played it, just like I like the way that Joshua played it, to be honest. Both of them kind of played it like, look, man, we got other fights to be made. Yeah, and you have to know that.
And
there's a pecking
he already
order.
knocked out Brazil. Joshua knocked Brazil out as well.
But this is what I'm saying. But Brazil wasn't the one that was there. He was asking for Wilder. He wanted to get knocked out by Wilder.
He a wild boy.
Yeah. Which Deontay would be happy to do, I'm sure. All these guys get hit too much. You can't get hit like that by the big guys. It doesn't work. But then we moved into the Jamel and Jamal Charlo fights. Now, I have to say, I need to rewatch the fight because I was in and out. I was suffering from a little bit of jet lag, and I was sleepy. And I didn't watch. I watched the heavyweight fight, then I went to sleep because I didn't expect much out of the Harrison fight, but the Detroit native showed up and pulled off the upset. Now, I hear people say, actually, maybe he did win, but the commentation was so biased that you couldn't even get it through your head that he was in the fight because everybody was so enamored with Charlo. And, you know, this was supposed to be a big, huge coming out party for both Charlos, and both of them had a tough night at the office.
Both of them had a tough night. I mean, the second Charlo almost lost his belt.
The middleweight Charlo did not look like now, the only thing that I'll give him,
He did not have dominatrix on his side.
the only thing that I'll give him is that his opponent stepped in a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So he didn't have time to prepare for a lefty opponent of a high Olympic and Olympic caliber, amateur caliber fighter that had a decent
What's your man's
professional
name?
career, Kobarov. And
He made a name for himself.
well, the thing is, he's old. They signed him, Top Rank signed him years ago with the intentions of him being a superstar, with the intention of him being like a Triple G type.
Now he's just a filler.
And now he's a guy that can come in and fight on a week or two's notice and give you a tough fight.
I like the
Now,
way he came out because he was prepared.
he was prepared.
Until he's been watching the fights.
And you could tell that you're either going to beat him or lose fighting his fight. He's not,
Yeah, and you can also tell that he was not impressed.
he wasn't overly impressed. In the 12th round, Charlo wobbled him. But honestly, through the first six, I think I had it 4-2 for Kobarov, maybe even 5-1.
I couldn't even been upset if he would have lost that fight, if he would have got a draw, a split decision, some of that, because that guy
The card was absurd. The card was like 119, 108 or something like that.
What in the world is going on? Boxing really needs to work on getting there.
They gotta do something.
Because this kind of stuff is way, way too far. You can't get a 119 out of that fight.
Now, which one rubs you more the wrong way? Is it the idea that they have these cards that go this way, or the idea that Canelo Alvarez just made the easiest $33 million that anyone's ever made ever?
That Canelo Alvarez fight was ridiculous. I don't want to see Canelo now that he's an elite fighter. It's just like watching Floyd fight, when he fought Berto and things like that. It's just not acceptable to see these elite fighters fight against. Now, the guy that
There are other elite fighters.
Yeah,
this is the whole point.
Yeah, and the guy that Canelo fought didn't even look like he should be fighting
At any level.
outside.
He didn't even look like a club fighter.
No, he shouldn't even be a bouncer because this dude, this dude was literally looking at his corner trying to figure out, should I
quit? You gonna throw in the towel? Or should I
is it time
stay
yet?
down or get up? No,
He got knocked
Okay, I'll
down
get up.
by a body shot in the first 30 seconds. Come on, man. We got to be better than that.
You'd be
Especially
better
if
than
you want a subscription service. I mean, you want people to pay for that service.
You're not impressed with the zone.
No, I'm not right now because I think that they need to give us more. We need substance.
You weren't impressed with the big baby fight.
A 300-pound guy pity patting everybody. I need 300 pounders to put people to sleep. He can put me to sleep.
He ended up getting out of there. But you ain't in the
But I ain't in the game.
you ain't in the competition game.
Yeah.
You're in the broadcasting game.
Yeah.
You're in a broadcasting space right now.
Well, we're going to put you in a broadcasting space. You can be a pundit.
Yeah. So, that was a bizarre.
Yeah, so
I watched
that fight wasn't acceptable, especially his
I
coming.
think the women's fight before that fight was more exciting than the fight of Canelo. That was the headliner.
Right. That's supposed to be his coming out party.
This was a big deal for him to be three division winner, even though they created a division for him at
168?
No, 57 or whatever it was. But this was supposed to be his big coming out party to fight at Madison Square Garden. You know, the first time that he was there and the long lineage of the great Latin fighters who fought at Madison Square Garden and blah, blah, blah. He fights this dude that has a title. I don't know how he must have picked the title. It must have been an interim or something. Because if you are going to go up to 168, fight the real guy at 168.
Yeah, fight somebody real. You don't even have to fight the champ, an elite fighter. Just fight a guy who's going to be competitive.
Right. Nobody's saying go fight Badu Jack.
Yeah. Just get into a competitive match. Nobody wants to watch you just beat somebody down. I don't want to watch that.
And honestly, I can't believe that That's almost like a signing bonus.
Yeah, it was.
You know
was a
what I mean?
layup.
That's like Eddie Hearn and them giving him a signing bonus. Look, so we got an 11 fight deal at 365.
We throw you this first one.
This first one is just to get people to see that we're actually gonna how the actual the Zone app works.
Now, what we see or what we're hearing is that next is either Triple G or Danny Jacobs.
And I've spoken with Danny since that fight. And I told him I heard the rumors are true that he gets the fight. I mean, me personally, I could have him and Gennady just go at it 2 times a year till they both stop fighting. They don't have to fight anybody else. But Danny has been a great champion. He's a great guy. He deserves a shot at the big time, because he's already been there in Madison Square Garden and he showed up against Gennady. The lights are not too bright. You know, I didn't feel like he won the fight against Gennady, but he definitely was there. He was the best. I would say he was Gennady's most difficult fight.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
I think he was more difficult than the.
And we've been ringside.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was more difficult than the Canelo
definitely
fights.
More difficult than Canelo.
And honestly, I expect Danny to really put a hurting on Canelo when they fight. If he can execute the Danny Jacobs.
I think he could stop him
because I haven't seen him stop, so I don't know about that. But I think that he can put a hurting on him because he's more athletic. Well, and he's way bigger than him.
Yeah, I just think that one of the things when you talk about fighting with Canelo, one of the things that Floyd does, and I think that Floyd is actually trying to pique interest and see and you know, tiptoe, put his toe in it, brother, to see if he can actually get Canelo to come out and fight him. You know, and if he could do that, then he thinks that he will put on a clinic. But I think that Canelo is actually good enough to beat Floyd now.
But in an old Floyd, yeah,
that's what I said now.
Yeah,
but I'm saying that to also say that
if you have trained to get down to 154,
yeah, but is Floyd 154 anymore? We don't know that.
Well, he's 47. He's always 47, and that's his whole thing.
But he's older too. Yeah. So he might be a little bit heavier. But the thing of it is that what I'm saying is that whoever goes and fights Canelo for real, whether it's Danny Jacobs, Triple G, or whoever. The Charlos, whatever you do, you just have to have discipline and execute your game plan.
Well, the thing that you have to do if you want to win is you have to knock him out.
Yeah, you're going to have to knock him out. That's a given.
This is off the top. You're not getting a decision.
He comes in with two rounds against you.
He comes in with 2 rounds under his belt.
Yeah. So, you know, and Canelo, I like him. I think he's a good fighter. I don't think that he's a great fighter. I think he's a good fighter, but, I just feel like that in order to beat him, you're going to have to be disciplined enough to knock him out. You work his body, which nobody ever does, and then you go to the head. But you just can't focus on beating his brains out because he's got a granite chin.
He's got a granite chin. And he's got good head movement. And he's got Mexican meat.
And he's got the zone.
He's got the zone behind him, which is giving him banked rounds.
Yeah.
But now one thing that I find interesting there is we don't really cover much UFC, but now you see they've moved the fight this weekend for John Jones's Gustafsson rematch down to, or the fight down to the Forum from Vegas. Now they moved it to the Forum from Vegas. I'm a believer that all the fights should be in Los Angeles. They just got to find a way to let people gamble on the fights here.
Right.
But the thing that you see that happened is the reason Dana White said they moved it is because John Jones tested positive again for the juice. But he tested, but hold on a second. So he tested positive for the juice. They said it was 150 millionth of a positive test.
It should be 0 million.
No. Listen to where I'm going with this.
Where you going?
Now, the reason that the test supposedly is positive is a residual effect of the same thing that he tested for before, meaning that and supposedly when you juice, it stays in your system. And so meaning that this is why they sent it to the state of California's commission, because they're familiar with his blood tests and everything. And they're monitoring the test that he tested, his blood levels, what he tested positive for 2 years ago, whenever it was he fought Daniel Cormier, a year ago. And
that was like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And the test now. And that's how long this stuff is supposed to stay in your system.
I don't believe it. I'm going to get Dr. Don on here so we can clear that up, because I need to hear from him before I can believe what the commissioner or the commission is telling me.
Maybe so. But my point is, where I'm going with it is, in that sense, if Canelo Alvarez did test positive for the juice, for whether it was from meat or whether it was from actually juicing.
From about a year or 2 years ago.
And or the effects are still there. This is the whole point. Greatest juicer of all time, greatest known juicer of all time, in my opinion, is Bartolo Colon. He's
More than
the
Barry Bonds?
most effective juicer of all time. When Barry Bonds started juicing, he actually shortened his career.
The only reason Barry Bonds shortened his career is because they kicked him out the league, because they blackballed him. Because other than that, Barry Bonds could still play. He probably can play
still
today.
swing stick, without question.
Yeah, and so that does.
But Bartolo, Big Sexy, is giving you, I think he's 43 now, 44. Bartolo has been in the league since Ronald Reagan was in office.
Yeah.
He's been in the league, honestly, for 22 years, 23 years or something like that. 24 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was on that 94, 95 Indians team. And he got caught juicing and went out for a year, sat out for his year, whatever it was that he sat out, and has come back and has dealt ever since.
So what are you expecting from Robinson Cano?
I don't know if his juice is right. I don't know if he got the right juice, because it seems like you have to calculate your juice usage. You really need a doctor's supervision. And it seems like that's what Bonds was doing that worked out really well.
I think
along with having great genes.
Right. I think that Barry Bonds is the greatest juicer of all time, and it actually caught up with him, and he would still be playing if they did not blackball him. He just did not get along with the hierarchy, with the upper
system.
And if he would have, he could still be playing right now, and he probably would have close to 1,000 home runs.
If not 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was hitting 70 a year.
Yeah.
So, and then that means that even a reduced Barry, because Barry Bonds knew how to hit. He wasn't like the rest of the guys that juiced.
Right.
He actually knew
he
how
just
to
couldn't
hit.
run anymore because he got too big.
Yeah. And Barry Bonds, the 4 years after Barry Bonds retired, I guarantee he could give you 40 bombs a year.
No question. He knew that he can give you 40.
The league knew they could give him 40. He could give him 40. They just didn't want to sign him, you know.
I think he was just addicted to everybody, so everybody just shut
That's
him
what
down.
it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But with that, my point is, when you're then in turn, so then they had Canelo sit out for the 6 months. Does that really do anything?
No, we knew that off the top, and not only that, how do we know he still wasn't on the juice? You have actual
Well, they're saying that it's
photographs of Canelo being way bigger than what he was, and they could say whatever.
Well, that would be evidence to say he wasn't still on it. But what my point is that we need a definitive answer on how long the juice stays in your system, because it doesn't seem like the suspensions match the amount of time that the juice actually stays in your system.
Right. Well, like with John Jones, what I'm saying about John Jones is the way that he's been playing with the UFC, with the MMA or whatnot. He should be one and done. He should be finished. He shouldn't have a trace amount of anything in his system.
Well, they're saying it's totally and completely because of the last one. Like literally, he couldn't.
Of course, they would say that
he couldn't get it out.
But then, after he beat somebody up or beat somebody within an inch of his life, then they'll say, "Oh, well, you know what? He was on the juice again." And that's not acceptable, because you're messing with people's livelihood.
You're messing with their life.
Yeah, you saw what he did to Cormier.
That's
murder. You see what he did to Cormier? That wasn't right.
Wasn't right. Right. What do you think about Triple G's broadcast rights? Where do you think he's going to sign?
I don't know, but I think that it would be great if somebody could have some kind of competition
to the zone,
because then they have a monopoly on the market, which I don't ever feel like is good for the game or sport of anything.
How do they have a monopoly? Showtime has a bunch of fighters. They got Premier Boxing Championships on Fox now and on NBC.
But all the big guys, the big guns, like
are on Premier.
Who?
You have you have Earl Spence, you have Sean Porter, you have the Charlos, you got Hurd, you have once you start going up the ranks, you have
okay, but see, this is what I'm saying. I'm talking about money wise.
Showtime has Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, but money wise, because Deontay doesn't pull in a lot of large pay per view either. But then you're talking about Triple G, you're talking about Canelo, you're talking about Anthony Joshua. Those are the monsters. So you need other people that should be on the other side of that to be able to compete with them, because they don't have any big, humongous draws. They have people that you want to see, not that they don't have people.
They got Manny Pacquiao.
Who?
Premier.
Showtime. Oh, Premier. Yeah. He left Top Rank because Top Rank didn't want to pay him, right?
Top Rank didn't want to pay him. Remember, he came out on Instagram, said he was a free agent.
Yeah.
I
was about to sign him.
He said he was available.
No, I didn't have
He was
enough.
accepting phone calls.
I couldn't secure it. I couldn't.
Damn it, Pac-Man. And speaking of which, Bozo AB has gotten arrested over the Christmas break for DUI or not a DUI, for a warrant, outstanding warrant. The guy got a $50 million deal, which was a cake gimme. I mean, I don't know how.
Layup.
He hasn't won in about since Maidana beat him up.
Yeah.
He hasn't
He's
had
33
any notable
and 3,
fights.
but he has.
But
not,
in real life, he's probably
life,
about 28 and 7
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and the warrant was for driving without a license, no insurance,
stuff.
and speeding. He's just got out of high school. Those are the kind of tickets I used to get in high school. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That you just stayed in court all the time.
Yeah, all the time. You got, oh man, I got to go to court.
Like, oh, dude, and he's doing this as a multi-millionaire.
Then for missed in court.
Yeah, and now this.
Man, I had a hoop game, man. I ain't make it.
right. Just like, okay, I got one for you too. Inside those walls. Yeah, but he's still not serious. And then this
Not serious.
And
They
this is
gave
the
him the
problem.
guaranteed money. I mean, I'm surprised that anybody trusted him with that kind of dough.
Well, I wonder what's up with the incentives in boxing. Why can't you get an incentive-laden contract?
Nobody wants to play with incentives. Everybody wants to get some guaranteed cheese.
You want guaranteed cheese, but there's also
that Walker Bueller.
but there's also a chance that if you bank on yourself, I feel like a guy like Sean Porter probably could do that because he has as much confidence, skill set, and everything else that he could actually perform and peak out and get the maximum through maybe an incentive.
Yeah, take a minimum, and then every time
Stack it up.
Just stack it, yeah, so that you're just like you're a comeback player every year.
Because that's the only thing that's going to make a guy like Adrian Broner stay on the right track. Adrian Broner is the type of guy that if he doesn't keep his act together, that he hurts the sport.
You don't have to, we had gotten to the point earlier in the year we weren't even going to mention his name on the podcast. Unfortunately, now they're using him. I mean, fortunately for him, because they gave him $50 million, but they're using him like in this fight with Manny Pacquiao, to which hopefully Pac-Man doesn't hurt him too bad. And then he's going to they're going to try to use him to then, leverage that to create another mega fight for Manny with whoever it's going to be. But it's unfortunate. Now I hit do it for the tipper for the I hit do it for the tipper with his favorite fight of the year. Who'd you got? Who's your favorite fighter of this year, and who's your favorite? What do you have a favorite fight?
I'm always high on Triple G, but I think Anthony Joshua still, although he didn't have like a
Crazy fight.
Yeah, crazy fight. The potential's there. Everybody acts like he's running from them, and he actually has a business mind. A head on his shoulders where he's just not out there money grabbing.
You're saying it's a strategy.
Yeah, and carrying himself like most of these guys are nowadays. If with his strategy and the way that he's doing it, I feel like it's the proper way to get the proper fights. Although the best fight this year probably to me that we've sat next to ringside was that Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury. That
was a great fight, and I'm gonna go with. I'm going back and forth. I'm leaning towards Fury Wilder only because I loved the fight being in LA. Yeah. And it was that excitement was awesome. But I'm going to go with, we didn't go to the fight, but I'm going to go with Wilder and Ortiz. That Wilder Ortiz fight was awesome.
It was awesome.
And it was
You're awesome.
You're awesome, Hulk. And it led to a new peak in Deontay's career. And it showed something, even though we all felt like he regressed in showing what he fought against Fury. I would go as far as to say he was probably my favorite fighter this year. When I go back and I look at it, he had two big fights, and he had two big fights where it looked like he was out.
Yeah.
It looked like he wasn't going to win either one of those fights. I don't think he won the fight against Fury, but he did sneak out a draw. By hook or by crook, he clutched up and had that devastating knockdown that should have been a knockout in the 12th, to be honest. A mere mortal man would have been knocked out. Yeah. But as we've discussed, Tyson Fury had the hand of Christ on him, so there was nothing that nobody could do. He fooled him with Jose Chavez y Chavez. And the Young Guns reference, for those of you who are wondering. And I like those great fights. Yeah.
I mean, I just felt like with the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder fight, it went the distance. We had knockdowns.
Oh, it was unreal.
It was a drama. And for those of you who listen and watch the fight game, turn the volume down and not listen to the commentators as much. And then also watch how it pans out, because there's a story actually that you got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's beautiful. And you got that.
It is beautiful.
And you got that.
And also when you watch that epilogue that Showtime had, because that epilogue they had when it showed that his wife Tyson Fury's wife actually had a miscarriage and didn't tell him. I mean, that's unreal. Prayers out to their family, so they have another child. But the idea because that could have been a whole different night if she tells him that news.
Right. Now, I think that honestly, when you talk about Fury, I think that he peaked out. I think that if he fights Wilder again, he'll probably beat him. But I also feel like that's probably the best that we'll ever get out of him.
He was great that night.
I would be very surprised to see that he can get better than that physically.
Physically, he can get better because he's still losing weight and the time.
Toning up and everything.
All that kind of stuff. But man, oh man, was that dude quick. Jeez Louise. That's a quick, big fella.
Quick, big fella. But the biggest problem is that with the bigger guys, especially the ones that's coming out, is that they hit hard. And he doesn't get hit a lot. He wants to depend on, it's like a pitcher who depends on deception.
Yes.
And eventually, if you figure out his deception in the middle part or early part,
you're not going to keep getting knocked down by a guy like Deontay Wilder and getting up.
Right.
You're just not going to keep doing it.
And he doesn't hit hard enough. He doesn't have the one punch to knock people down.
That was what I was going to say. When they do the rematch, somebody's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't knock out Deontay Wilder, I think he'll get knocked out.
And I think that he'll just knock out Deontay Wilder just because he'll be getting better as far as physical conditioning and timing.
And they're talking about Freddie Roach taking over.
Yeah, and then Tyson Fury's fundamentally sound, where it's too late for Deontay Wilder to actually get the fundamentals, to be able to beat a guy like that. And shout out, Deontay Wilder's a great fighter.
And great guy.
Yeah, and a great guy.
Really great guy. I like how
great positive guy.
Very positive. I like how both of them move.
Yeah.
Him and Fury.
Yeah.
They both gave it up. That's the love I got. I would really love to see Wilder fight Usyk. I really would, because if Wilder's coming in at 212, I mean, maybe he'll come in at 225 or something like that.
He doesn't have enough to bang with him.
I mean, Usyk he's we'll see what happens when he gets some meat on him and moves to the heavyweight division. But, I mean, there's a lot of fights I want to see that seems like stables may prevent. I really want to see Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, fight, because I believe that Errol Spence is way better than Terrence Crawford. Not just better than him. I feel like he's way better than him.
I do too.
And then you got Keith Thurman coming back. You got Thurman coming back, and he needs obviously a couple fights to get himself together. I'm really excited to see what Regis does, because Regis don't sleep. He's probably going to win that tournament that he's in the middle of. And he stays moves up to 147, and he stays ready.
And his trainer keeps him ready.
No doubt. His trainer is ready.
Yeah, his trainer's ready.
Yeah, and I want to see what Mikey Garcia is going to do after the Earl Spence fight. I mean, I
he
want to
has
see that
anything
fight. Mikey's challenging himself. As they say, he's daring to be great. And, just want to say the final farewell to HBO Boxing. They sent us some stuff for Christmas, which was great.
Nice.
And, we had a great time at HBO Boxing, both while I've been under their employ as HBO actor for the show Ballers, and well before. We grew up watching HBO Boxing fights before there was pay-per-view, with pay-per-view, the whole nine. I mean, I remember HBO at Caesar's Palace being the thing. 90-degree fights at night outside at Caesar's Palace, all that stuff. Yeah. So good farewell. Can't wait to see what else they come up with. The people at HBO are very, very creative. So good luck to Peter Nelson and all those guys over there who've always shown us love and respect. To young Coco, everybody that takes care of us on the HBO Boxing tip. Got a little football to talk about, but we're running kind of long. We'll save it. It's almost time for the Australian Open. The only thing that I wanted to say is I personally think Russell Wilson is the best quarterback on the planet. Just wanted to put that in there for everybody.
Yeah, but you're talking about quarterbacks, and then we're talking about another situation where Colin Kaepernick didn't get an opportunity to play, and he's definitely better than what they're throwing out there right now.
No doubt. And honestly,
you get Mark Sanchez some burn. You can't get
and the other guy that was his backup too. And I believe that that's it. It's over, because they've blackballed him from the league. And then there's the other factor, which is I think Colin Kaepernick now is like 31, maybe 32, something like that. I don't know how old he is, but eventually you can't just sit out indefinitely and then come back and play.
Well, one thing that I think that he can do is sit out and then come back and be better than Mark Sanchez.
That is for sure.
I mean, and what's that kid's name? I mean, there's just a bunch of guys that's walking around.
Peterman. I don't even know who Peterman is.
The kid that was throwing all those picks before with Buffalo. He's the backup quarterback.
Oh yeah, that's who I was talking about. I can't remember his name.
So it's just it's blatant. It's just right in your face that they're blackballing this guy. I'm not even saying that while everybody is talking about the injustice of it all, I'm saying that just as an athlete, if they're saying that they're serious about winning, then why aren't they trying to do the best that they can to put a guy out there to
Well, and they're lying. And
so
you're looking at the
and
Redskins and all that stuff. Yeah. They're lying about it.
They're not being real with you.
They're really lying about it. And we have actually quite a few celebrities who wanted to call in and talk about that. We just
and maybe we can jump on it in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we'll jump on it at the beginning of the year. And then farewell to the Raiders. Oakland, the city of Oakland is not renewing their deal since they're going to try to go one and done. And so now the Raiders are trying to discuss different places to play before their stadium is finished in Vegas. And they're talking about setting up shop HQ out in London, mate. And I've already told you guys we're going through a divorce. And as soon as the Raiders leave the state of California, I'm done. So it could be happening sooner than later. You got anything else?
Oh, the Raiders are going to be in the shootout with Kansas City this weekend. That should be a good game.
Again?
Yeah, this is the final game of the year. Kansas City needs this win.
Oh, Kansas City went and beat up on them a couple weeks ago, right? Now,
yeah, but then they need to win this game.
In Oakland, so now they're going to play in Kansas City?
Yeah, and they need this game for the bye.
They do need that bye.
Yeah.
You need that bye in football in general.
Yeah. I mean, that kid.
Who's going to beat the Bears?
We haven't. That's what I'm saying. We're about to find out if the Bears are real this weekend when they're playing Minnesota. But that kid hurt Kareem Hunt hurt the Kansas City Chiefs so much.
He hurt Chiefs Nation.
He did.
He really did.
I mean, he's going around beating up on women, so now you got to pay.
Man, I just wonder if he'll ever get a shot. If he'll get another shot.
You know what? For me, honestly, with the NFL, the way that it is, I listen and watch them kicking people out of the league for different reasons, and they have rapists, wife beaters, murderers, and everything else in the league. So where's the line?
There is no line in the NFL.
Yeah. So how can you
they got held to a social ransom for once with this Kareem Hunt thing.
Yeah, and other than that, it would just be right under the rug, just like everything else. So they really, I mean,
if it wasn't for social media, guaranteed there would have been no consequence.
And it's unfortunate though, because they don't really have. They're letting us know that they don't have any boundaries. They
know that there are no boundaries in the NFL, and this is something that they do that's not that the other leagues have definitely not jumped onto.
Well, and another problem with me is that they're putting out an inferior product right now because the league is watered down like almost flag football. You can't touch anybody, you can't hit anybody. You got these guys who are running as fast as I don't know what, a freight train, and then you want them to stop on a dime and not touch the quarterback because he's the face of the franchise, because you couldn't tell who the other players are because they always have their helmets on, and they don't mind if they get hit or knocked out of the game or whatever. But
paralyzed.
Paralyzed. But the quarterbacks, they want to protect those guys. I feel like if you're going to protect anybody, you should protect everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I'm surprised somebody didn't have to protect Baker Mayfield from Hugh Jackson's fist since he decided to stare him down running down the field. I thought that was a very, very interesting decision that he made. Football's wild. I mean, the way you talk to the coaches, the way that football is just a wild.
I don't even know if it's wild like that as far as, you know what, because Baker Mayfield he feels comfortable now that he can do that. Before he wasn't in a situation he can do that. But we all know that once a guy gets into a situation where he's the superstar, so when Baker Mayfield becomes the face of the franchise, he'll be able to talk to any coach like anything, say anything that he wants to.
Like
to
a
him.
pimp.
Yeah, and they won't be able to say anything to him. Shut up.
Yeah.
we running we running ZYX, Memphis.
I love that play.
Yeah.
That's my favorite play. CYX Memphis. Yeah, good idea, Baker. Yeah. It's a good idea. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and they'll go along with it. Just
Go route. But this is defense, Baker. I don't know.
But this is how it is in the league, though, in all of the leagues, because they don't get paid as much as the players. There's only a handful of coaches that actually have the power to shut a player down or to tell them or to actually. Popovich is one of them. You jump out of the pocket with Popovich, you might not, regardless of whoever you are, you might not see the light of the game again. I mean,
there's only a handful.
But for the most part,
it works against the fundamentals of sport.
It sure does.
To be honest,
sure does.
What sport is supposed to be about.
And for once, long time now, we just saw LeBron get hurt. What are the Lakers going to do? LeBron just literally maybe popped his groin.
They're making it seem like it's not as bad as he said. He'll be right back.
It's a great opportunity for Brandon Ingram now.
Yeah, and for the second best player on the team, Kyle Kuzma. Yeah. I mean, the young guys, I do. I think he's the second best player on the team. And I also believe that it was impressive what the young Lakers were able to do to keep spanking the Warriors, after LeBron got hurt. It's going to be interesting. They're going to need to get Boogie back because they actually need Boogie if they're going to win, because they don't look impressive this year. They really don't look like the full dominance like normal.
Yeah, nobody's intimidated. The Mike Tyson effect is gone.
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
Wow.
It's gone. And a lot of that has to do with infighting, because it's not like they didn't just win the championship 7 months ago. A lot of that just has to do.
We've seen way
a million times.
Yeah, a million times
in every team, in every sport.
In every sport, you start feeling yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys calling other guys bitches on the team. Yeah. That's a problem.
And then a guy like Klay Thompson goes into a slump right now, and now
because mentally he's not feeling it.
Yeah, come on, man,
it's a problem. Well, we'll see. Get us some Cowboy Kev next time, too, since it's almost go time to figure out what's what with them Cowboys. Yeah, doggy. This is the Ozone, folks. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Lao Tzu heading into the new year. And it is, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And if you are at peace, you are living in the present. Take time, appreciate your time off, your family, your friends, your loved ones. Let people know how you feel about them, because we only get one go around in this life. We're in it together, folks. I am your host, Omar Miller, and this is the Ozone.
Ozone.
I'm just living the dream.